A new defense witness has taken the stand in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Hello and welcome to our weekly wrap where we break down all things Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. I am Linda Mnisi. Now, as always, we'll be running a poll later asking you about the testimony. But of course, make sure that you interact with us and make sure that you get your phone and start voting as soon as that particular poll question is up. But of course, we'll be talking about Sifiso Zungu, the evidence that he's given so far. And some of the things that we want to know is what you make of, the testimony of Sifiso Zungu. He's another witness who some may say is casting doubt on Gininda's testimony. Others will say he's also amongst those who are misleading the court. But for others, they're waiting for the cross-examination so that they can make up their minds. But this is a new witness who reportedly hosted the gathering at the Phosphorus hostel where Meyiwa's murder was allegedly planned. And like the other witnesses, one of the things that he started with was a relationship with some of the accused.
He is the child of my mom's elder sister.
Oh, okay, thank you. The second gentleman is Bongani Sandison Tanzi. Do you know him?
Yes, I do know him.
And how do you know him?
He is a gentleman that grew up in a different village, but we would all be coming together for dance and sing, for song and dance. We grew up together.
Thank you. Now we go to the third gentleman. He's known as Mtobisi Mnuwe here at court. Do you know him?
No, I don't know him.
Thank you. Then we go to the fourth gentleman. He is Mtobiseni Zipozonke Mapisa.
Yes, I do know him.
Same. How do you know him?
Where my mother is originally from, or where my uncles are staying. Yes. So he is from that particular area where my mom hails from.
Do you have any relation with him?
No, no relation. It's just that what you would refer to as an elder or an uncle from the area or the village where my mom comes from.
Okay. The last gentleman on the court's extreme right-hand side, the right-hand hand, is known as Sifiso Zungu. Do you know him?
Yes, I do know him.
Can you please tell the court how do you know him?
He is my cousin. He is my uncle's child.
Constable Sifiso Zungu is the only witness who testified that he saw the accused at the Basotho hostel in Phosphorus. He told the court that he had been invited by the current witness, Sifiso Zungu, who is his nephew. Zungu described a jovial atmosphere at the hostel where there was song, dance, food and alcohol. He said in the evening the accused disappeared and later came back looking panicked and proceeded to Gwabini's room where an exchange of firearms took place.
Now he proceeded to tell this court that whilst in that very same room, he also took the .38 special revolver from Muzi and looked at it.
Telling lies.
He further told this court that his observation of what was happening in that room was that those firearms that were in possession of accused number 1 and accused number 3, now the .38 revolver and the 9mm pistol, were firearms that had to be handed to you.
Telling lies.
Now, Gwabini disputes that he even saw his uncle that day that Meyiwa was killed. He says he last saw him in 1998.
Now, why do you say, of all the things that I've put to you that were said by Constable Zungu here at court, and then you say he was lying, why do you say Constable Zungu was lying?
My lord, the reason why I keep on saying that he is telling lies or he's lying, I just didn't know Zungu in 2014, just for the entire 2014. The last time I saw Zungu He was still young. It was in 1998, if I'm just not mistaken, or if I'm just guessing. It was in 1998. And when I saw him again, it was in 2017 when he arrived with Makosonke, and it was a complete surprise to me when they arrived.
All right, so we'll pause there, of course, because we want you to interact with us throughout the show, and we've got all those phone lines. You can contact us at a later stage. Just after 2:30, we'll be having a panel, and those numbers are on your screen right now. You can call us on 010-594-6010. You can also WhatsApp us on 072-110-5584 to keep the conversations going. You also know that we are on social media. On Twitter, we are at Newzroom 405, and you can also follow us on Facebook. Newzroom Afrika is our, platform where you can send us all those messages about what you make of Constable Sifiso Zungu's testimony, which is quite interesting. So after the break, we get into Gwabini's subsequent arrest, which was in June 2020. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you for choosing to stay with us. We continue to reflect on what happened in the Senzo Meyiwa trial this week. Sifiso Zungu, also known as Gwabini, turned to how the statement that he allegedly made came about. But before we get there, later on, we'll be having a conversation with our panelists who will be joining us, and one of those is legal analyst Melusi Ulu. We also have social media commentators who are following this case very closely. If you're familiar with him, Brad Denny will be joining us, as well as Bongani Masuku, who of course keenly follow this case on social media and, of course, give commentary regularly. They've become our friends here on this particular program. But back to the testimony in court. According to the state, Zungu gave them a Section 204 statement, which may contain self-incriminating information, but he says he was severely assaulted, tortured and questioned about the murder of the soccer star, which he knew nothing about in June 2020.
Before I could step you, interject you, you made mention of the fact that soon after this 2019, the second 2019 meeting when you met Constable Zungu there at Mchindini, where there was a wedding, you then got arrested.
I got arrested in 2020.
Yes, it was after this 2019.
What I was saying there is that I last saw him in 2019.
Yes. And then in 2020, as you are saying now, you then got arrested.
That's correct.
Now, we don't want to get into your personal issues with regard to the reasons for your arrest, but if that arrest had anything and everything to do with this case, then I'm going to request you to explain the circumstances under which you were arrested and the reason why you got arrested. But if that has got nothing to do with this case, then you don't need to explain it. Now, let us start here. Was that arrest relevant, had something to do with this case?
Yes, it had.
Now, Zungu describes a seemingly violent arrest where doors were kicked by law enforcement officers who were looking for him. He says he was found naked in bed and cuffed, but they later took him to municipal offices where he was assaulted.
They then started asking me, how did Senzo Meyiwa die?
When that happened, you were still in the vehicle.
By that time, we were at the municipal area,
yes,
but still inside the vehicle. I didn't alighted from the vehicle.
Okay, proceed.
The mistake that I made, or the wrong thing that I made, was for me to say that I know nothing about football. I know nothing about soccer players. They then instructed me to alight from the vehicle. Indeed, I alighted. When I alighted from the vehicle, I was instructed to sit down and seated in a position as well. In such a way that I stretch my legs.
Yes.
My legs are stretched out,
yes,
with my hands at the back.
All right, remember, you can call us on the number that is on your screen for that conversation that we're going to have a little bit later with our panelists. The number is 010 072-594-6010. You can also WhatsApp us on 072-110-558-4. We'll be joined by Melusi Ulu. We'll also be joined by Bradeni as well as Bongani Masuku. Those are the people that are going to be helping us unpack, the evidence as we continue to unpack it as well here in the studio. Now, according to Zungu, he was subsequently moved to a cemetery after a passerby noted that someone was being assaulted.
Take us through how this assault happened. How did they assault you?
I was seated, and then my hands cuffed at the back, and I was facing that way, and then they appeared. The one that appeared from the back or from behind, I couldn't see that, or I didn't see that one. Yeah. Because they were seated in a buggy, a double cab, which was open. They were seated there at the back of it, and I was made to sit down. And then this particular one then covered my face with the plastic. That is, with the plastic that they had covered me.
Now, Zungu told the court that he was ultimately taken to Primrose Police Station, where he would be with the investigators of the case, Sergeant Mohola, and the lead investigator, Brigadier Bongani Geninda.
You had to give them a statement. What questions did they ask you as precursors to the making of the said statement?
I cannot remember everything, but I will mention that which I can still think of, because I haven't forgotten.
Yes.
They informed me that as an arrested person, I've got rights. They then gave me a document to read, which I never read. I just put it there.
Now, who was leading the discussion or the process of talking? Who was doing the talking?
It was Geninda.
Then he speaks about rights, and then he gave you a paper to read, which you didn't read. Then what happened?
They then informed me that they were going to take a statement or write a statement about me. I then wanted to know about what, because I've got just nothing to do with things related to soccer or football.
He then told the court about the circumstances around the statement that he allegedly deposed.
From there, they then asked me, do you remember the South African goalkeeper? I then said to them, but I don't even watch football. They then said to me that it would be beneficial to you if there's something written down, because Muzi said something, or something is written which was said by Muzi about you. They then showed me a pile of documents.
Yes.
I then said to them, or gave them just one word, that whatever it is that was written by Muzi about me, take it from wherever it is written and bring it over this side, because I know nothing. I've never ever been arrested. There's nothing that I know.
Yes.
They then wrote down, and then I just signed or wrote an S, because I told them that I know nothing. Whatever it is that was written or said by Muzi about me, take it from where it is and bring it over this side. Maybe my brother just wrote something or said something about me, not knowing that I don't know anything. I just signed or wrote that S.
Now, he says he never made a court appearance despite being arrested. Instead, he was asked for money.
These people paid you a visit and gave you money to go buy a fat cook.
They said they gave me money, told me to buy fat cakes, and said eat because it's still in the morning.
So with that money, then you divide means in order to get an airtime?
Yes, because I wanted to get out.
Is that the airtime that you used in the phone of the person who said, no, I can borrow you a phone and phone whoever you want to phone?
Yes.
Then who did you then phone?
My brother, who's at the shop, I contacted him.
Who is his name?
Tengizwe Mabaso.
Thank you. You called him, then you discussed with him to borrow you money?
Yes, to the amount of 2,000 rands.
And then what happened?
Lungisani went there, got the money, and gave it to me.
So he found you still at that waiting area?
Yes.
Thank you. He arrives with the money, he gives you the 2,000 rand, and then what happened?
He gave me the money and Muhane came back to me. I gave him that 2,000 rands. He then released me. I never went to court, or I never appeared in court. That was the end of it up until today.
No, Akpela.
Now, the state wanted to use the alleged statement to cross-examine Gwabini, but the defense objected, telling the state to prove the statement. This prompted an earlier than expected adjournment in the week to allow all parties to prepare heads of arguments. After the break, we're joined by my guests to unpack all of this evidence. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, and thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. Let's break down the evidence of Sifiso Zungu, with our guest who's joining me now. I'm having studio with me Bongani Masuku. Will also be joined by Daniel Morobane Musime, as well as legal analyst Melusi. They'll be joining us as the conversation starts. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I see that also Denny has joined us, but I'll start with you, Bongani, because I have you right here in studio with me. Your impression of Sifiso Zungu's testimony, there's a lot of debate, right, particularly in your circles, about what this piece of evidence means.
Actually, we've been waiting for this moment.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, hey, Team State, where are you? From when look, this guy, look, this man, Absalom Zungu, I was like, I wonder who's going to be the next witness. Then Sifiso comes in. Then I feel like, hey, should we continue? Or it's the end? I don't know.
All right. So, I mean, you're quite interested in this particular witness because I think it's important to also, just inform our viewers that there's a lot of interest in, the public about this case. And Bongani is one of those people that provides daily commentary on this particular case, but also via Zoom we're joined by Brad Denny, who's also, equally interested in this case. Brad Denny, thank you so much for joining us. The evidence of Sifiso Zungu, Bongani here, quite excited about what exactly it means for the case, and he asks the question, should we even be continuing? What are your thoughts? All right, we seem to have an audio issue there. We'll get to him in a moment. But this is a witness that follows Absalom Zungu, right? And it seems at this particular point, there is a direct attack on the evidence and the credibility of not only the lead investigator, Brigadier Bongani Keninda, but also Constable Sifiso Zungu.
Yeah, that's where the nice part is. So when you listen to Gwabini, for instance, and he speaks more of the things that happened prior to his arrest, and after his arrest, right? And then he dives into the actual conversation that would have gone on, or that would have happened about the accused, right? So there are a lot of things that we can talk about so far as just the arrest of Gwabini alone, which, again, it goes back to some of the things that have been highlighted by the accused. When they say, no, we've been mistreated here. These people have been doing these shenanigans on us, you understand? You can also go as far as the Madlanga Commission and speak about the AVL, you understand? So I'm simply saying there are quite a number of things that are being highlighted as through the testimony of Gwabini, which takes us even back and also link the Madlanga Commission. But I'm going to tell you how we get into the Madlanga Commission, which is very interesting again. Right. But specifically about the AVL records.
Okay, for those who don't know, the AVL records are basically, GPS records of where a car would have traveled. But what is interesting about Gwabini's testimony, among the first things that he started with is the issue around the relationships. What do you make around his relationship with a Constable Sifiso Zungu and how he says he had last seen him in 1998 before seeing him again in 2017?
Yeah. Remember, Zungu gives us a story that he was there in the hostel 2014. Gwabini was a trader. He was trading firearms. He saw him, And then Gwabini says, hey, Baba, I last saw you in 1998, then 2017. 2014, Mr. Zungu Senior Loco Jr., Gwabini refused. Gwabini denied being with you at the hostel. The accused denied being with you at the hostel. Who saw you? Then the father says, hey, my son visited me and asked me about these people and said, do you know this one? Do you know this one? Do you know the girlfriend of accused number 5? We're just talking about the knowledge of Zungu and the relationship he has with Gwabini. So I'm simply saying, it just overlaps. When you bring all of that, I can simply conclude that, hey, Mr. Zungu Jr., hi man, were you with Gwabini in 2014? Or you are simply saying, you are simply doing this now. You are taking the event of 2017, pushing it back to 2014 to create a story or a narrative that, no, 2017, 2014, in fact, I was with him. Because when you listen to the accused, somehow you get a sense that, no, yeah, some of the things here happened, but not in 2014. Some of the things happened in 2017.
I want us to go to Daniel Morobane Musime there. He's now joined by a legal analyst who will help us make sense of this evidence. Danny, thank you so much for your time. I've just been talking to Bongani about the issue around the relationships, which has been a common thread amongst the evidence of the defense, right? One of the first things they touch on are the issues of the relationship. And we saw similarly with Gwabini being asked about the relationships, who he knows amongst the accused, but most importantly, whether or not there are any relationships between him as well as, Constable Sifiso Zungu, who one might argue is a critical state witness. What do you make of that?
Thank you, Linda. I think the issue of relationships has been quite very clear in this court. It is well known that these guys are heavily related, and I think Gwabini, Sifiso Zungu as well, has confirmed some of those family dynamics. But I think what is important, Linda, to note coming out of Gwabini's statement is that he seeks to distance himself from the alleged 204 statement that he gave to Brigadier Bongani Gininda. But irrespective of that, there are very crucial aspects that needs to be noted coming out of his own testimony. On his own version, on his own evidence in chief, Gwabini or Sifiso Zungu tells the court that when he met Brigadier Bongani Gininda and Sergeant Mohola, they read him his rights. That is out of the way. But of significance, again, Linda, he confirms that on that day, there was no torture. So as much as he wants us, or he wants the court to believe that he was tortured after he was arrested, but on the day he met Brigadier Gininda and Sergeant Mohola, there is no reported version of torture. In fact, what he tells the court even more is that he was able to make a call a friend or a family member to bring him a jersey. But more to that, Linda, Mr. Zungu further tells the court that he met with the state prosecutors on 3 occasions on his own version. And he told the court that that was voluntary. Nobody forced him to do that. And in fact, on the 3rd occasion, according to his own evidence in chief, he tells the court once again that he spoke to Sergeant Mulauzi, and he reminded Sergeant Mulauzi that, remember, we agreed that I will be collected by one person. When Mulauzi said to him, according to his testimony, a certain Mr. Dlamini will be coming to pick you. So he gave us a clear indication that as much as he wants to distance himself from his own 204 statement, he was cooperating with the state. And I think the court will place much credibility on those versions.
Gentlemen, I want us to take a moment there to take a quick ad break. I have with me in studio Bongani Masuku, who's itching to respond to that. But I also have on the line Melusi, legal analyst, who will break it all down for us as we continue this conversation. More of this after the break. Welcome back, and thank you so much for choosing to stay with us. This is Inside the Courtroom, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial wrap, where we're breaking down the evidence of the defense's third witness, that is Sifiso Zungu. You'd recall this is a witness who allegedly was the host of the gathering that allegedly took place at the Phosphorus Masutu hostel. This is where the state believes the murder of the soccer star took place. I'm joined in studio by commentator Bongani Masuku, but also on the line via our Zoom link, I'm joined by legal analyst Melusi, as well as Daniel Murubane Musime, who's also a commentator. Let me come to you, Melusi. Danny speaks about the issue around alleged cooperation with the state. But one of the most important things that he touches on is the issue around the allegation that Sifiso Zungu made a Section 204 statement. And according to Danny and his interpretation of that, he thinks he's trying to distance himself, from that particular statement. But he confirms that his rights were read, but he also confirms affixing what he says would have been a signature, which he says is an S. When it comes to issues of credibility, what exactly will the court look at when you look at his testimony, and what will be the statement that now both the parties will be arguing on?
Good afternoon to you, Linda, to the viewers at home, and to my fellow panelists. I think what is important about this statement now, before I go to credibility, is the fact that if he's denying the contents, obviously he's stated that he did make a signature, but he also needs to give us an idea and evidence how that signature was made. And importantly, the state witness, obviously, for a trial within a trial, I believe that should be the right step. They should come and prove that the statement was made voluntarily without any undue influence. And Linda, we've been there before with the confession. So the right procedure has to be made so that at least we know that he made his statement properly in a procedural manner. With regards to his credibility, I think what is important here now is the fact that if he says he did not make the statement, or he disagrees to the content, I think that needs to be tested so that at least if the other witnesses come, I believe that it could be the policeman that made or that assisted him, inverted commas, in the statement. Then that is where we get a full picture. Because what I'm getting here, Linda, is the fact that this statement will be one of the key aspects if you connect it to what Constable Sifiso Zungu has stated, and other state witnesses and other circumstantial evidence. It will be key. So that is why I believe the next step of a trial in a trial will be important to test the credibility of all parties, whether it's the state or the defense.
Melusi, one of the things that the state has said is that it will be relying on the statement. And we've seen with the likes of, Zungu Senior, for example, the state asking him, only you would have known these intricate details about, firstly, the relationships and all of that. So it could have only come from you. Is that what we can expect here, given that the state really wants to go into the contents of that statement?
Yes, I think that is what I've been thinking about, recently. That I think what the state is trying to do more than anything, other than relying on the people in the house, they are trying to look at the Zungu testimonies, if I'll put it like that, whether it's Absalom, Zungu, or Gwabini, or Constable Sifiso Zungu. So those are the key aspects that they want to use. So at the end of the day, they will try and connect this to the fact that there was something that happened, or this was done by the co-accused. So other than anybody else who will know how these accused are related in the details, I think they are trying to connect that and say there's no way they would have been able to know what was stated by the witnesses, in particular Absalom Zungu and Gwabini, if they are denying it.
Bongani, let me come back to you in studio. I mean, you've heard what the two gentlemen have had to say, but with you, I'm also interested in when we trace back to the versions that were put to Constable Sifiso Zungu, firstly, even about things like whether or not the accused know him and where we are right now, do you think that the accused have been able to sustain their version in terms of the relationships that, they alleged they had with him, whether they said they knew him or do not know him?
When it comes to Sifiso, Gwabini, for me, he simplified the relationships. I now understand fully. Because remember that it was Zungu Jr. telling us about his relationship with the accused, then the state trying to paint that picture. Then the father couldn't paint a picture because he said, no, these people are young, so I don't know some of them. But Gwabini, who is said to be a trader, then he created that picture and made it clear. Zungu, you do not know some of us. We last saw you there. We know you are a relative to us. We get that. We admit. But now, when you were in court, you claim that you know us, or you claim that, you are... Uzungu went far, man. Look, Uzungu Jr., he went far, man. He was painting a picture of friendship. But Sifiso is basically saying, hey, Baba, this friendship, remember, he said, this other time they came to the hostel unannounced, you wouldn't say that to a person whom you know to that extent. To say, but... I had a problem with the fact that he came unannounced, it's been a while, and suddenly, boom, he appears. And he was like, but I was surprised because I'm working. That tells me that, no, the relationship is not as Zungu would have liked us to perceive it. No, yes, they are relatives, but not to this extent. But I would like to respond to Daniel. Daniel, Mr. Daniel, Daniel, skip izinto. Uti, Sifiso did not admit to some of the torture there. He forgets that that guy was marinated somewhere in Matunen. He forgets that in the cemetery. He forgets that the guy, when he was taken to the police station, he was already marinated. When he requested for that jersey, he was already marinated. He skipped that most important part.
All right, Daniel, let me come to you. I mean, I started the question about, whether the accused were able to sustain their version. But of course, we're also now joined by Mpumelelo Zikalala, who will also help us understand and balance, of course, this conversation as it continues. Mpumelelo, thank you so much for your time. But back to you, Danny. When we go back from the issues around the relationships, at some point there was a I don't know you in toto.
It even goes further than that, Linda. When Mr. Absalom Zungu testifies, he confirms those deep family ties. He tells that this one is the son of my brother. This one is the son of my elder sister. So it confirms, as much as before Judge Ratamu Kgwatleng, there hasn't been any denials. But we know, as a matter of fact, those of us who've been following this trial, that before Judge Sifiso Zungu, all these guys, they claimed that they didn't know each other. Now, that is out of the window. But coming back to what Bongani is saying, I think my brother Melusi correctly points out that insofar as the claims of torture and the disownership of the 204 statement is concerned, the correct platform would be a trial within a trial. And the state advocate George Baloyi has hinted that that is likely to take place. Brigadier Bongani Gininda, and most probably all those who were involved in the arrest of Mr. Sifiso Zungu, would be called to come and testify as to how the events unfolded. But Linda, I also want to touch on Constable Sifiso Zungu's testimony that Bongani seeks to dismiss as if it's nothing. It is important to remember that so far, insofar as the evidence that has been led in court is concerned, Constable Sifiso Zungu's testimony has been corroborated in most material respects. I can just give you two examples. Sikhumbuzo Zungu testified that he called Muzisibiya while he was in Mpumalanga at some stage. Section 205 records of Muzisibiya confirms that around that period, indeed, he was in Mpumalanga, and Muzisibiya has failed to explain where exactly he was. Number two, Constable Zungu testified that at some stage he was at a wedding, a family wedding back home in KZN, where he spoke to Muzisibiya about this matter. And Muzisibiya said to him, "We will speak about that." Yeah. Absalom Zungu, in his own testimony, indeed confirmed that Muzisibiya and Constable Sifiso Zungu were at that wedding. So Zungu's evidence, amongst others, has been corroborated, and it cannot be discarded, just like Ratamu Kgwatleng told us in the Section 174 application of accused number 4.
Mpumelelo Zikalala, I want your thoughts on what Denny has just touched on, the issue of Zungu, because when we look at Gwabini's testimony, it seems it's also an attempt to directly cast doubt or to attack this, what one may see as critical evidence in this trial.
Good afternoon to you, also to my panelists and viewers. Well, you have to look at what is it which is being attacked. Is it evidence which is essential to the case? So what I mean by that is, remove this evidence, you have no other option than to find those individuals not guilty. Admit it, and it's able to be proved, then yes, they are going to be guilty. Now, there are two processes that are done. Is admissibility of the evidence in terms of was it collected in a proper manner, and last one, probability. So if there are going to be evidence or instances in which, well, you could prove that it's not true, there are lies based on it, but on the essential core elements, then you can see that the sequence of events really took place. It's really not going to matter. Yes, it would cast doubt on the person giving the evidence, but it's not going to assist the defense in proving what they need to prove. The defense needs to state this: we are not at the scene, we are not involved. Either we know each other, but there's a perfect explanation of us knowing each other, but we have never been part of a conspiracy theory of trying to kill Mr. Senzo Meyiwa, and this is our evidence leading to that. Now, they might have missed a very important opportunity during cross-examination to place their version on the state witnesses and to provide the court as to a glimpse of what the evidence is going to be. One may say maybe it's still a bit too early for us to conclude that they have failed to do so. There may be other witnesses which are going to come in, but with this witness that we have now, yes, it does cast a bit of doubt, but it's not enough doubt in which a judge will be forced to come up with a not guilty verdict.
All right, so hang 10, gentlemen. We're going to take a quick ad break. And when we come back, more of this interesting discussion. Welcome back. We're still breaking down the evidence of Sifiso Zungu, also known as Gwabini. And I'm still joined by our panelists. Newzroom is a legal analyst, together with Mpumelelo Zigalala. They're joining us via Zoom, together with commentator Daniel Morubane Musimane. In studio, I'm joined by another commentator, that is Bongani Masuku. Mpumelelo, I want to come back to you. The issue around this particular statement, the state standing up to say he made a 204 statement and needs to be warned of the implications of this 204. Talk to us about, the implications here that the state is referring to.
Well, the state is saying to the court, we provided information to our evidence leaders. And there's a sworn statement that you have made, which is different from what you are stating now. Remember that lying under oath is perjury. So whether you are lying now while you're under verbal oath, or lying when you sign down the statement, because there is a statement that says, are you telling the truth and nothing else but the truth here? So to me, it was sort of a warning statement, or call it a scare tactic from the side of the state to say, please remember that we are going to raise this if we need to move on. But there was a curveball that is there. The court coming back, in fact, the defense raised it to say, well, if you're going to rely on it, you must be able to prove it, which then opens up a trial within a trial, similar to what we had in the earlier stages of the matter, where a person will need to be called and evidence will be led, whether it was collected in a free and voluntary manner, whether when he signed it, he was conscious in his proper state of mind and he understood what he was stating, which would lead to a whole new ball game to what the court would need to come back to. To me, that was the defense playing a very careful trap for the state to say, well, we want you to go and try and prove the statement. If you cast doubt on the credibility of this witness, even your statement is going to be under an issue, rather than opting for the second option of saying that we are simply going to cross-examine, will not even touch the issue of the statement because we haven't raised it at all.
All right, let me come back to you as we're wrapping it up, Bongani. We're going to be hearing those arguments. What is going to be important for you in those arguments that are coming up in the coming week?
I would have loved also to respond a bit, né?
Yeah.
But for me, I think at the end of it all, when you're looking at Gwabini, personally, I believe most of the things that are said by Gwabini, but I'm not a legal expert, or let them argue that. The two, Mr. Xulu and Zigalala, right? Let them argue that. For me, part of the evidence given by Gwabini tells me that we've got a man who gave us, who, by the way, he is the key witness so far as the state is concerned. So for me, whether the state, right, whether they take left or right, at the end of it all, I am seeing Mr. Zungu Jr. in a different light now. But we've been saying that the man hasn't been honest.
All right. Danny, your final thoughts?
Linda, in closing, I think I can confidently say the state is on a good track to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt, irrespective of the allegations that we've heard from the latest defense witness, Mr. Sifiso Zungu. I think the state is going to deal with that quite comfortably. We know, as a matter of fact, that the state has handed over OB entries of his detention at Vosloorus police station and Primrose. And we were told that the defense lawyers said that they are not interested, as much as they came back with a different argument. But it is my humble opinion that the state is going to deal with that allegation quite comfortably. And so far, the state is on a good track. Remember, we've entered a phase where the accused persons have now an opportunity to persuade the court otherwise of their innocence.
I'll end with the two legal analysts. I'll come back to you before we close, Mpumelelo. Melusi, what is going to be important in the arguments that we're going to hear this coming week?
Yes, Linda, I think what is important with the arguments is the fact that the state must be able to have a way of persuading the court that when the statement was made, it was made freely and voluntarily. And in fact, when he signed and put an S or his signature, he knew what he was agreeing to, and he was not assaulted or forced. So that is the key. And I believe, obviously, from what I've heard, the defense is not saying whether he was forced to agree to the statement, but they're just saying he does not agree to the content. So the key aspect is if they are able to maybe bring more than just argue and bring witnesses, just to give us an idea what happened when the statement was made. So that's going to be key because, like I said, it's one of the key aspects of the case because that's where everything begins with the witnesses from Abantu BakwaZulu.
Mpumelelo, you are the last one. What are your thoughts on the upcoming arguments, and do you think the defense is on the right track?
It's going to be quite a crucial one. Maybe let me start with the second question. It's a bit too early for us to determine that. There are still a number of witnesses that they can call in, but it's just a reminder that you must focus on the core elements of the crime that are there, or the core elements in which the court would need to look at. There are those incidental ones, which even though they are not important, even if you've not proved them, it's not going to assist you. Focus on those ones, and then you'll be able to get your clients to be declared not guilty. But another important one is this. It's crucial for the evidence which is going to be led during this week. If it's proved that the statement is indeed true and was signed voluntarily and freely by the individuals or the witness that is there, it may put the whole evidence that has been led by him to be no force in effect. So he will be branded as a liar. His evidence will not be considered, even those elements that would have assisted the state. So it's quite a gamble that both parties will have to deal with. And it's going to be very crucial as to what evidence they're going to provide from both sides to say, from the side of the state to say, everything was taken in line with what the law is saying, or the side of the defense to say that we were coerced, it wasn't voluntarily, it wasn't free. Hence, you must not consider what has been written down, only consider what I'm telling you in court today.
And what are the consequences if it is found to, his evidence is found to be a lie?
Firstly, it's one of perjury, which is a crime that can be opened by the state itself. But crucially for this case, it then says, let's cut out what you are telling us because we want the court to come to a conclusion that you are not telling the truth. So in instances in which even there is evidence that assisted the defense in a number of ways, that particular evidence will not be considered in the overall scheme when the evaluation is done because his whole chunk will not be considered anymore. So the question is, do you want to gamble with that particular aspect as a state or as the defense? If the answer is yes, then you must go ahead with the trial. But if you don't want to, don't even raise the expectation. Simply ask the court to say, can you please evaluate what has been stated verbally and leave everything else which is written down on its own? We are not going to even enter it as part of the evidence, the exhibits that will need to be considered by the court.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you for your time this afternoon on our Zoom link there. That was Mpumelelo Zigalala, legal analyst, together with Melusi Xulu, joined by a commentator who follows the case keenly on a daily basis, Daniel Murubane Musime, also in studio with me, Bongani Masuku. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for availing yourself on a daily basis when we need you. They've become friends of the show as, of course, we continue to focus on the murder case of Senzo Meyiwa. That's where we leave it at for this week. Catch us again next week here on Inside the Courtroom, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. Until then, have a good one.